So hello, it's Jules here, and this is the series Ancient Moon Woman and Friends. And today it's my pleasure to introduce one of my friends, Jan Booth, who is going to talk with me and have a conversation about all things woo. Hi Jan, thanks very much for coming.
No, thanks for inviting me. I'm looking forward to it.
Good. So we've already had a little pre-chat and we did cover some areas that we kind of thought, oh, we should have done this on the conversation. So that's a note to me to not do too long a pre-chat, to let the conversation flow and let it go where it is. So
Yeah.
I would love you to share whatever it is that's calling you to share.
Oh, okay. That's right. I suppose that's a difficult one. I suppose it's maybe time that we all speak out a little bit more. Perhaps that's it. We've found our voices. Perhaps our voices have been lost for too long, hiding in the shadows. I'm really good at hiding in the shadows. I like being in my own little office, in my own little world. And I think people are ready for us now, Jules.
I agree.
When I first started talking about chakras, you would think I had 10 heads. People didn't even know what the word was. Whereas now, even if people don't understand chakra energy systems and what they are, they know the word because they've seen it. So we've come a long way in the last 12, 13 years.
Yeah. And obviously, people might not know this, but as a Reiki practitioner, Reiki master teacher now, chakras are incredibly important to me too.
Mm.
And I went further beyond and started looking up other ancient wisdom systems that teach about chakras. And the one that called me massively was the Ayurvedic.
Yeah.
And doing more research and studying and understanding about that ancient wisdom, it really, really validated my choice of title here, which is Ancient Moon Woman. Although we were talking about it, weren't we? And I kept saying ancient moon, ancient womb, ancient womb. And I considered renaming it Ancient Womb, but decided against it.
Yeah. I know it's weird. Yeah, it sometimes slips of the tongue or spellings are for a reason, aren't they?
Yeah.
I look at everything different now than what I used to do, because
can you give us an example?
You think you've got something wrong, or you think you've got something right. Sometimes you think you've got something right and it doesn't work, and you can get frustrated because it doesn't work. And then a slip of the tongue or a change of a spelling and it works. Yeah. It's because you had it wrong, the wrong energy vibration on it without realizing. And sometimes what we see as an error is actually a correction.
Yes, absolutely. So do you see that then as an invitation to spot that that is the case, and that making a mistake or an error is simply an invitation to do more,
to stop
explore more around it?
Yeah.
And
definitely.
Sometimes maybe that fixation that we've got it right, why is it not working? It's because we haven't got it right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in the earthly plane, in life, we need that kind of what's the word? Stability of something, don't we?
Yeah. Do you know what though? That takes me back to school, and I could get quite. I wouldn't send my kids to school if I had my time over.
Right.
It's because they're always saying you've got it wrong. That's not right. And very young, impressionable ears believe what they're being told by the teachers.
Right.
And instead of saying that's not right, it's like maybe we should look at this a different way.
Yeah.
There's just words. It's like So
to be more inclusive and understanding that not everybody sees things exactly the same way.
Yeah. No, and we're all different, aren't we? We're meant to be different.
Different.
Yeah. So There's no such thing as doing it wrong or an error. It's just a pause to reflect, I think, sometimes.
Right.
Pause and reflect. So pause and reflect on woman or womb, moon or womb.
Do you know what? There's so many things to reflect on, aren't there? My one is the moon often, but there are other things that I reflect on too. So what would you say is what your go-to thing, object, process that helps you to reflect?
I think this can be hard because we live in busy worlds, don't we? And we're always told we've got to have goals and deadlines, and we're always reaching out for the end of the month, for the end of the week, for the paycheck, and life's so busy. So, and to reflect and look at your errors, you've actually got to stop. And you've got to take a breath and go, even if it means taking half a day off. Or so for me, when I feel I need to think, I'm fortunate I live near the sea.
Yeah.
So for me, my thinking time's done on the beach.
Yeah.
I will go off for the day, take my dog, and we'll go and play in the surf and take her out. And so that would be my reflection time. And a lot of my answers come then, or I wake up in the morning and I've got the answer in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sleep on it. Sleep. Yeah. They always used to say, don't they? Don't make a decision, sleep on it.
Sleep on it. Yeah.
And I do think we get downloaded the answers while we're asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of my challenges. I've got the drive, even though I know I have to be still and silent.
Yeah.
I just have this fire in my belly. And I know it can burn me if I apply it too intensely.
Yeah.
I know that. So when you say you recharge by the sea, water being an element, I think most people who would be attracted to listen to a conversation like this know that water is an element.
Yes.
So do you think the elements are a great resource?
Oh, yeah, listen to the wind. So when you're on the beach, you've not only got water, have you? You've got, obviously, we've got earth. I'm an earth sign. I'm a Capricorn. I'm like, earthy person. But if you think about what you have at the beach, you've got earth, you've got water, and you've also got the wind. The messages in the wind, isn't it? The ancient shamanic and the Indians used to say, the messages come on the breeze. Listen to the wind. We don't listen to. So we've got the air element there, haven't we?
Yeah.
Not so much.
So you can understand why people go to the beach and light a fire.
Yeah, well,
because
even
bring in the element that was missing. They sit in the dark, and so you've got the three elements there already. They just bring fire. To bring the four elements. But there is five, isn't there?
Ether.
Or what, maybe our UK sort of, I'd say witchy friends, because I'm thinking of the pentagram, is spirit. The whole aspect of spirituality, I think, is such a wide and deep that I change the word of it a lot. I call it love, I call it consciousness. Depending on who I'm talking to be fair. What do you think to that? How do you ever work? I mean, I said to you, will you come and talk to me on video about all things woo?
Yeah.
And you just said, yeah. So people who go, well, those people are just into woo, they woo-woo. I think people like us, we say, fine, okay, we'll adopt that.
People like to laugh at us, don't they, and use the word woo.
So we laugh at ourselves and we say, let's go and have a conversation about woo.
Hey, I'm a Scouser. I can laugh at myself. We're brought up laughing.
Yeah.
It's the easiest way in life.
Yeah, me too. I'm northerner. Yeah.
Yeah, laughter, joy, love.
Yeah.
And if they want to think we're a bit weird because they're a bit woo, we could say we're alternative. They're just labels, aren't they? Human people like labels.
Yeah.
We label everything, don't we?
Well, that's another example of that stability thing, that wanting to be safe and wanting to know that you're orienting yourself correctly, that you're doing it right.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? It's funny because just before you started the recording and we just had a couple of seconds, you said something, I can't remember what it was, about finding your spirituality. And it made me think back to when I first really admitted I was woo, because I used to deny it. I go, no. And I went on a course with a friend and she was doing the Think and Grow Rich books. I went and got it off my bookcase. But she was
What's the book, Dan?
It's the old Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich.
Oh, right. Yeah. Think and Grow
Classic
Rich.
book that they teach everybody. But she was a photographer, so she made up photos to go with the title of each chapter.
Okay.
And she developed a whole course, and it was actually quite interesting. But the lady sat next to me, Rachel, was I call her Rachel, my little songbird. She was a beautiful singer, operatic singer. Mm. And she said to me, "You're so spiritual." And I went, "No, I'm not." No, I'm not. Thinking no. But I was talking about chakras. So I'd started developing a range of soaps, chakra soaps, energies using the essential oils. And I was like, still in denial. No. And during this book, Janet, that was running the course, she said, everybody breaks down in tears at one point in this book. There'll be a chapter that we will get to, and you will have your light bulb moment. Mm. And we were on the very last chapter, and I was like, me, typical stubborn Capricorn. No light bulb moments for me. Not been a waste of time. It's been very enjoyable. I made some great friends, but I've not had my light bulb moment. And we got to the last chapter and I had my breakdown. And let me tell you what it's called, because I couldn't remember what it was called, but I knew it was about spirituality. And her picture was this sixth sense. There's chapter 14, the sixth sense, the door to the temple of wisdom, the 13th rule, the 13th step to riches.
Oh, my days.
That was the chapter that actually stopped me in my tracks and said, you've got to stop denying this.
Yeah.
Stop denying it. But it's interesting, it's the 13th rule, which is just...
Oh, magical. For me, the number 13, especially because I have a grandson that was born on a Friday the 13th of a month. Yeah. There was no way I was having any bad energy around his birth and birthdays and his life. So I researched into it and discovered that actually 13.
Yeah, was a really lucky number.
Was a lucky number prior. Now, some people say it's prior to the 13 original Templars being murdered in...
and the 13
the 13th, yeah. Was it Friday the 13th the Templars started to be murdered?
Oh, was it?
The 15th century or something like that in France.
And they altered us from a 13 cycle into a 12 with the constellation.
On the calendar, yeah. It went from the 13 lunar cycles to the 12, I don't know what this is called, diurnal, I've no idea what the proper word is, but we went to 12 months, didn't we, instead of 13?
Yeah.
Another one of the 13 has a bad rap because of an event that happened centuries ago. And people don't get that. I didn't get that for a long time. I was very, do you know what? I won't say superstitious. I would say suspicious. Right. Because I think superstition is wonderful. I think superstition is wonderful. And I think superstition is a very powerful energy within the umbrella of spirituality. Because they start off as superstitions, and then we start to suspect, well, hang on a minute, there might be a little bit of truth in this, And I started to research them and find out, where did they come from? I want to know the root. Is it when they started building fear, do you think? I wondered whether it was Chinese whispers. So, for instance, my own understanding of this, my own translation of this is around Odin had two ravens, Hugin and Munin. One was wisdom, one was knowledge, and he used to send them off looking for wisdom and knowledge. Now, that isn't exactly the legend, but that's how I like to interpret it for my own understand it. Helps me to understand. When I was a kid, we saw one magpie, and my mother would just go, "Oh, good morning, my lord. Good morning, my lord. Good morning, my lord. Touch your collar. One magpie. Bad luck." So I grew up avoiding one magpie. I wouldn't do all this ceremony that my mother had absorbed from her own lineage.
Yeah.
But then when I started to understand, magpies are corvids. So we want to see two. We want to see Hugin and Moonin. We don't want to see just one, because knowledge without wisdom is useless, and you can't have wisdom without knowledge. So then I understood that's possibly why people said two magpies is better than one, because it's wisdom and knowledge. But now when I see one magpie, I still get that childhood. Oh, and what I do is I say, "Hello, magpie. Are you knowledge or are you wisdom? What have you got to teach me?" And I get a response. And I will know that soon I'm going to get knowledge about something, or I'm going to get a wisdom. So a one magpie now is incredibly welcome to me, because I think I know what it is. And it's that needing to know. Where does that need to know come from in humans, Jan, do you reckon?
I think because we come for a lesson. We forget, don't we, when we get here, the reason we've arrived. And I do believe we're just in a big teaching school. So our need to know is because in our deep and down inside, we know we've come to learn. So it's that need to know, isn't it? That curiosity. I can't walk past a box without opening the lid. Should have been called Pandora, shouldn't I? It's like, even if it's a brand new box in a shop. And as kids, you're told not to touch, aren't you? Don't touch, don't touch. But I always have to open the box. I still do it now. I find myself, if I'm in a shop and there's boxes, I'll open them to see. I know there's nothing inside.
Exactly.
It's open the box, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
that old adage, your parents don't touch, curiosity kill the cat, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe that comes from the original Pandora legend, where apparently she put all the ills of the world and all the troubles and the sins of the world in a box, and someone opened it and all the sins came out into the world, so the humans had to then deal with them. But the one line at the bottom was hope.
Hope. Yeah.
And how many times do people forget that no matter what, there is always hope? Now, I believe hope to be a birthing tool. If I can connect to stuff that's really, I can just go, well, there's always hope. So what can I hope for? It doesn't mean I'm going to just continually hope that my life's going to be better. It's that hope drives me to make it better.
Yeah, it's having that reason to carry on, isn't it? I suppose.
I think so.
Hope.
For me, hope is the beginning. It's not an end result.
Yeah, definitely a starting point, isn't it?
So that could be why our parents say, "Oh, curiosity kills the cat. Don't ask." You're told, don't ask, and it's all because parents haven't got the time, the inclination to explain
Always
things.
got the answers, have they? I mean, kids ask
And
some
sometimes they don't know the answer, so they just come up with something that makes them look good to the child. Like, well, the parent knows best. But sometimes the child knows best, I believe, because I believe that there's certain children come here with a wealth of knowledge, and then they get born, they come through the veil, boom, forget. But not all kids totally forget.
No, they're far more connected than us, aren't they? At the beginning of life. Yeah, definitely. Till they're either told not to be stupid, or, I mean, how many children talk to their imaginary friend? Or say things. There's some really interesting stuff with children that actually remember their past lives, don't they?
Yeah.
There's
even been programs on Netflix now about that. It's becoming acceptable mainstream entertainment, but it's also educational for me. Very educational.
Yeah, one of my friends got a little bit freaked out because her son had said, "I remember climbing into your tummy, mummy. When I died, I remember dying, and then when I woke up again, I was in your tummy."
Oh, wow.
That's quite a statement for a mum to.
Yeah. And you know, when you think about it, when the parent dismisses that because of collective conditioning of, oh, it's woo, you know, it's you're mad, they dismiss that in the child. But if the child is really remembering a past life
Yeah.
and the death of a parent or the death of a loved one or their own death,
Yeah.
that baby, that child is grieving. And the parent just dismissing it and saying, oh, forget all about that rubbish. That's how a child learns that this is a place of grief a lot.
Yeah.
This life, isn't it?
Yeah, we need to get rid of that, don't we? And move into this as a place of love.
It is a place of love.
Happiness and joy.
It's a place of love.
I am working really hard not to attach to any negativity whatsoever. And I live with a negative Nelly. Not female Nelly.
Well, I suppose when you say you're working really hard to attach to the positive, natural law will constantly bring you negative.
Yeah.
Because of polarity.
Yeah.
That we've got on this planet.
We've got to get rid of that feeding the fear.
Yeah. There are some wisdom teachings that say that, you know, in the upper dimensions, there is no polarity.
No, there is
no paradox.
There's only love.
While we're here, there is loads of polarity. There's loads of paradox, isn't there?
But it's falling away. We've got to let that fall away. It's time to let all that fall away. And I know life throws us ups and downs. Life sends us roller coasters, doesn't it? My dad used to say, you have to live on a roller coaster because you wouldn't celebrate the good times, you wouldn't know. But
exactly.
I still think that we are upping our game into realizing we've got to stop feeding this fear.
Yes.
Because we're feeding the wrong energy, aren't we?
I agree. Do you know what I think it is? I think it's because we've got a preponderance of fear, grief, and lower vibrational energies that we're actually out of whack.
Yeah.
So to bring in the light, there's no point blinding people with tons of light if they're feeling rubbish. No. There is no point. However, we've got to, at some point, help support people to diminish the amount of darkness in their own being and to allow in more light. I'm not saying that we should tell people to ignore their dark, that they should ignore their pain, they should ignore their grief, they should ignore the woundings. Not at all. But all I'm saying is reduce them to a point where they don't take over your life, where they sit there in right relationship within your experience.
Yeah. There's time to let things go, isn't there?
Yes.
You have to let things go because we all have stuff happen.
Yes.
We all have. I don't think anybody, I don't care who you are, whether you like pretend you're the happiest person on the planet or the most miserable. We all have points in life where there's something comes in to knock us sideways.
Yes.
You know, and I like to think it's that big. I remember somebody teaching, so life goes round and round like a circle, and your happy days, and you're just getting on with your life, and everything carries on and carries on. Then suddenly something breaks that cycle, and it could be something massive, or it could be something very emotional, but an event will break that chain. At some point in your life. Something will happen that is a breaking point because it has to. Because really, we should live in a spiral.
Yes.
And not a circle, because things can't stay the same forever, can they? It's
I agree.
Whether things are really great or really bad, it never lasts forever. Whichever cycle you're in, at some stage, you're going to break that cycle and move into the next part of your learning and the next part of your journey.
But some people can't do that, can they? So they repeat the cycles over and over.
It's sad.
And they just don't see that they're repeating the same cycle. I'm very much, you know, not hugely adept of seeing repetitive patterns.
Yeah.
I know you are, though. I know you're fantastic at patterns.
Yeah.
Much more so than I am. Would you be willing to share a bit about your sort of past, your journey with that ability that you have?
Yeah, I suppose so. I won't put any names or too fine a detail, because there's parts of my past that even my kids don't know.
Right.
You know, so yeah, I mean, I've got 2 ex-husbands. I got married quite young, first time round. Everybody did. When we were growing up in the 70s, you got a boyfriend, you got married, you had children. That was what you sort of looked forward to. I can remember at school being very good at physics, and the teacher said, well, she'll never use it when she'll just be the secretary in an office at some point. And I remember my dad going crazy. I was fortunate that I had a really open dad that was really listened to what we wanted. He listened to our dreams, he listened to our wishes, and he helped make it happen. So I was very fortunate that way. But so I did what everybody else did, got married, had children. I'm really glad I did, because I wouldn't have them if I hadn't gone through that situation. But it was a rubbish marriage. When I look back, it was rubbish. We were kids, we were changing, and then got that out of my life, ended that one, and then got married again. It's like, because I think, and you know what, I think as young adults, we don't like being on our own. We feel lonely on our own. But what I've noticed with age is, as you get older, you actually quite like your own space. But it takes time to develop that, doesn't it? So, we go through these phases and these cycles. So my second husband turned into a complete alcoholic. So I lived with an alcoholic for 20 years. And when I say alcoholic, it was like living with 2 different people. Right. So there was the man I woke up with in the morning was a different person to the man that came back in the house at the end of the day. Yeah. It was like chalk and cheese. Yeah. And I don't think you understand what alcoholic people are like to live with until you've done it yourself. Yeah. You can't get through to the point that it was like, okay, it's your family or it's your drink.
Yes.
Take your pick.
Yeah.
Take your pick, because you're taking us all down. We're all suffering.
Yeah, it's been there, done it, and that was the question that my on the answer to which caused me to end the marriage.
Yeah. So
the answer to that question was not the family.
Yeah. Yeah, same here. So, and it's and it got to the point was like, okay, he was like, just give me some money and I'll go. So I gave him some money and he left. Which is very sad, because somebody has that problem doesn't mean you stop loving them.
No. But the reason I smiled was because that was pretty much exactly how my ex responded.
And mine
how much am I going to get out of the settlement? Yeah.
Mine sadly did drink himself to death. And he did pass away at the age of 56, which is a total waste of a life.
It's sad, isn't it? It's really sad.
But it's only as I've got older and I've become more spiritual that I understand more so now the reasoning behind why he did what his life was that way.
Yeah.
And I think I would certainly treat things differently now than I did back then. But then we all change, don't we? We grow and we change. And I think that's why relationships break down. And I think if we can accept that on a spiritual level, that we don't own their spirit, even if we are married to somebody, if their spirit wants to take them in a different direction than yours, you have to, if you can, say goodbye on the best terms possible and get on with Let them enjoy their lives. You enjoy their life. Don't have any bitterness. It's gone and it's done and dusted. It's finished. You've had your time together. You've had some happy moments. You've had some really rubbish moments. And you've just got to, you know, otherwise you take yourself down. You take your own energies down.
So in that, you know, that reproduction of getting married again because you were young, it was the repetition of the pattern.
Yeah.
Because like you say, you gathered more wisdom as you got older.
Yeah.
So your youthful wisdom was still, you know, growing. It was a sapling.
And you know what, Jules? Now what I've realised is I love being old. People are really frightened of age. So I see it as a level in a computer game, because for me, this planet is not a globe. It's not real. It doesn't exist. None of it is real. It's a holographic image.
Yeah.
That's what I believe. We're just vibrations in a movie. So if you hit a bad part in the movie, unfortunately, we can't just get up and walk out like you would at the movies. If it was such a rubbish movie, you get up and walk out. Sometimes we're a bit stuck in that movie unless we opt out, which I'm not recommending anybody does.
No.
You know, but we're sort of in a bad movie at times, and other times we're in the best movie there is.
Yeah.
And I've lost thread to where I was going with that. Sorry.
Well, no, I'd like to ask you, at what point in your life did you realise that you were the creator of your own movie? Because I know that you know that, and I know that you're doing that. So I'd like to learn more about, you know,
I read
your
a book
creativity and how that, you know.
Yeah, I did. Well, I didn't do art for years because I had a teacher at college told me I was rubbish. But I remember reading a book on my 50th on holiday. So when I was 50, we went to Kenya for a holiday. But me and Tom were always really, really good at picking holidays and it turning into a war zone. So we were in Egypt when the revolution took place.
Oh my.
We were in Kenya. We landed when there was all that trouble with the killing people in a church and the fires. So I'm going back, it'll be 16 years ago. Everything shut down in Kenya. We landed and the taxi took us to the hotel and we were sort of shut in the hotel and that was it. So anyway, it was a great holiday. It was one of the best holidays I've had for, you know. And anyway, I had my books and we were all right. We got there and it was like, you order a gin and tonic. And it was like, well, we have gin, but we have no tonic. Because they just had Christmas, New Year, but because of all the trouble, they hadn't had any deliveries to restock. So we landed in January for my birthday. So they were running on what was left over because they couldn't get anything. And it was quite funny. It was really comical when you look back. So you could have a gin and ginger beer, which sort of doesn't work. So we thought, well, it doesn't matter. It's late. We'll have a beer around the pool tomorrow.
Or just gin?
There was no beer. So there was no beer. There was no tonics. There was other stuff. You know, we managed. It wasn't the be all and end all. And then they started running out of food. It was hysterical. It was just one of the best holidays ever. But I read this book called Slave Species to the Gods. And I found that a really interesting. I am a bit of a bookworm. And then we started watching Ancient Aliens on TV, you know, the TV series.
Yes.
I don't know if you watched that. We watched a lot of them.
Some of them, and it's not my path, which we have talked about and how we have different paths and but how it's all relevant.
Yeah. I view that series totally differently now than what I did. But what it did, it opened me up to looking at different theories and different books and not being so, this is how it is because this is what we're being taught.
Yeah.
It's much more of a, what if that's not true?
Absolutely.
What if? Is that what my dad used to say to me? Please don't say that, Jan. Because I used to either start a sentence with what if, or I was just wondering. And he always knew a difficult question was coming.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
He used to
It's
laugh.
that ability to ask difficult questions, isn't it?
Yeah,
That we need to encourage in everyone, I feel.
yeah, yeah. Just people are I don't know if they're too frightened to ask questions or they don't know how to anymore because our
Or the
system.
condition that you're just going to get told a load of lies in
Yeah,
the world that you might be inhabiting.
yeah,
But it's breaking out of that established world by looking at something like ancient
yeah,
aliens and ancient wisdom and applying it to your own growth that can help you. For me, I call it, a lot of people call it stepping outside the matrix,
yeah.
even though sometimes you have to pop back in there. If you're going to drive, you need your sat nav and you need to be on the roads.
Oh,
And you
listen,
need to,
I'm a geek. I love technology. I'm a proper geek girl.
yeah.
But I
But
do
to be
think,
able to step outside
yeah,
the matrix now and again and fascinate yourself with some exploration of something that you would never have considered before,
yeah,
for me, is just wonderful.
yeah. Just think of different things. What if?
Yeah,
What if?
consider that
I
other
think we're time
things might be
travelers.
true. Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly think we're just time travelers. You know, I
Wow.
think when we depart this life and we remove this human overcoat and we become just pure energy again
Yeah.
and go back to where we come from,
Yeah.
that we then get to choose what you fancy doing next.
What do you want to do next?
So we jump time as we know time.
Yeah.
We just pick. So we
Yeah.
might decide we want to be, I don't know, this time round, I want to be a white owl on planet Earth, or this time round, I want to go to a different planet idea and I want to be a green giant or whatever. Do you know what I mean? I think we get to pick our next bit of fun as an
Yeah.
energy.
Yes.
That's what I think. That's my
I
thing.
think, and I think that's absolutely, I don't know whether that's true. I don't know whether
Nobody,
it's true or not. But for
no.
you, it's true. For you, it's come from your imagination.
We get all the answers when we go back over the other side.
Yes. But that doesn't mean that your imagination is making up something that isn't true.
No, in
We
my
don't
world,
know. If
really,
we don't know really, do we? We don't really know anything.
we know nothing. And as soon as we admit we know nothing, there's more to learn, isn't there?
Yeah. But
It's
then for me, that's more fun because it's like, actually, the belief that I know everything has kept me bored. It's kept me in cycles of repetition. It's kept me in an old pattern.
yeah,
So I'm never going to break a
yeah,
pattern unless I actually say, I don't know everything.
no, no. And you know what? It's interesting how, we're born into this life here that we know now and our system that we use here. Wouldn't it be interesting to be born? A lot of people are talking about they want to go back to living more naturally and living off grid and all that malarkey. And I say that sounds idyllic, but we don't know the skills because we weren't born into really living off grid because we
No.
live in the grid, so to speak.
Yeah.
But you look at these tribes where they are born off grid.
Yeah.
Their lives are so different to ours, but
Yes.
they would be lost in our world and we would
Yes.
be lost in their world because
Absolutely.
of how we've developed and grown in
Yeah.
this life. So maybe next time I'll come back as a little
But to me,
amateur.
that's perfectly relevant because I obviously, as above, so below. So if there are different worlds out there, which I truly believe there are, you know, no one can say to me, "Oh no, there's no other life out there."
No,
How do they know? They don't know. They can
no,
guess, they can measure, they can science this, they can maths that, they can physics the other, they can quantum whatever.
yeah,
But they're still seeing it from our two-dimensional, three-dimensional planet.
yeah. We
So
don't have the answers, do we?
you can't say that because you're here on Earth that you know absolutely everything about the universe. You just don't.
No. And
And
people
what you're
find
doing is
answers through it.
discovering. You're
Yeah,
actually discovering, and you're discovering how to maths. You're
yeah,
discovering how to physics. You're discovering how to quantum.
yeah,
It's all about, for me, exploration and discovery.
yeah. And
And
that's
like you
what
said, you know, we're here to be taught the world is a massive university. But when you said about, you know, the different tribes indigenous tribes wouldn't get along in our world, and we wouldn't get along in their world, because we need to have the skills that we're brought up to have acquired and practiced and become adept in.
Yeah.
So if we can have more than one world on this planet, then we can have more than one world out there in the universe.
Yeah.
But also what we can do is have more than one world within ourselves.
Yeah.
So that each stage of growth could be called a different world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen those videos that they do, like with the really high powered, is my geeky girl coming out again? The really high powered microscopes where they really go right down into the cell. They can see inside the cell, and there's some videos, and you can see the mitochondria, what it looks like, and you see it moving, and they're fascinating, the videos that they can make using really intense micro. So that's another world
exactly
inside us. So
another world which would not have been discovered 100 years ago, would it?
And what if we are just one of those little mitochondria in a bigger person? What if we're inside the creator?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
we are inside the universe, aren't we? We can all agree to that. That there is a universe which reduces down to a galaxy, which reduces down to a solar system, which reduces down to a planet, which reduces down to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all these different degrees of size are still all related.
Yeah.
Somebody said something about you have a universe inside you, all the different cells, and all the different parts of your body.
They all look like
a universe. Yeah, I totally get that. Totally agree.
So
But each with its own purpose and reason. And so we are being different cells, maybe in a great body. So your purpose is different from mine. So even though we're both cells, we have different purposes and reasons to exist.
Yeah, because you'll like different things than what I like, and you'll need different things than what I need.
Absolutely.
And it's
and we have different skills and talents. So there is a massive differentiation between each of us in our wholeness, our avatar of, like you called it, a meat suit, whatever we call it, but plus all the other bodies that we carry as well, you know, the etheric bodies that we do carry. Call that, you know, your own personal little avatar with a small a. You know, yours is different from mine. Your little universe of Jan is different from the universe of Jules. But
we all need each other.
We can learn to collaborate with each other, stay in our own lane and say, so I'm good at that, I'll do that. You're good at that, will you do that? In fact, you did that with me one time. You wanted a project. You said to me, I think you'll be good at that. Will you have a go? Yeah, I did it. And off you pop. I'm not going to talk about that because that's not the purpose of this conversation. But we've actually shown that that can work when we can respect each other's skills and talents, each other's purpose, each other's reason to be here. Mine's different, but we're both the same. We're both humans, we're both universes.
Yeah.
You know? And that to me is the most simplistic way to explain unity, in that
we all live in the same space.
Of the universe. The universe is one big union of all kinds of things within it. We are parts of a unity. But we don't understand unity because we think it's a highfalutin spiritual concept, when in fact it isn't. It can just boil down to being something as simple as Jan does this, Jan's great at that. Jules does this, Jules is great at that. Jan's rubbish at that, Jules is rubbish at this. And it's being able to go, we accept each other exactly as we are in the moment, and we respect each other as we are in the moment. As long as it's with a consciousness of mutual honouring and respect, and not mutual wanting to beat each other up.
Well, it's like a heart cell can't exist without a blood cell, or you know, you need the opposites, don't you? You need the difference, but it all works together. And I
And do
think
the
we all
cells
work
within the
together.
body try to, what they do get rid of are cells that are toxic to the body, to the healthy environment within the body.
Yeah.
The body will reject those toxic cells. In humanity, we do have maybe that could be classed as puerile systems for getting rid of toxicity within our society. But they're kind of done because we don't really know what else to do.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you think, like, this university we're in, we're all at different stages.
Yeah.
We're all at different degrees of learning. So
Yeah.
somebody just maybe starting off at kindergarten and somebody else is graduating.
Yeah, and a lot of the kids coming through now have graduated many times. So we've come in waves, haven't we? So we were in the second generation wave at our age. So we've had it easier than the first generation. But the kids now, I mean, the system needs breaking because it doesn't suit our kids that we have now. They're so different. They're so switched on. It's almost like they're wired up different to us.
Yeah.
And it's the system that's broken, not the children.
Absolutely. So why do you think that talk like that can be shocking to some people? Oh, you want to bring down the system. There must be something wrong with you. You must be psychologically, you know, what we're saying is we see that there is that conditioning and we would like to change the system to be more nourishing to children.
Yeah.
That no one's saying at all that they're, you know, the kind of people that want to go around saying, you know, bring it all down. For me, I did feel that way at one point, that it just needs to just change because it's so awful, you know.
I don't think it's going
Change
to
it
happen
now.
overnight,
But
do
I've
you?
got to the point where I understand that change is so incremental.
Yeah.
That when you've got a lumbering beast, a juggernaut like systems that we've got, you ain't gonna just flip a switch and they're just going to disappear and a brand new one, brilliant one's going to come in.
No, it'll run out of fuel at some stage, won't it? Because
it must.
It will run out at some stage. It will come to a slow but grinding halt. And we won't have realised it's even happening. And all of a sudden you'll look back and you'll think, gosh, that 10 years or that 20 years, remember when that happened? And it's like you won't believe that it did. It'll be like a distant dream, won't it?
Yeah, and that wouldn't happen again now.
Yeah, that could,
maybe something really bad happened to make a lot of people wake up. Like you said about breaking, you know, sometimes you have to break to see that you need to make changes.
Yeah.
Maybe something awful needs to happen in a particular aspect of the system for the system to be able to change, that there has to be that destruction in order for something new to be born.
Yeah, you have to have the chaos, don't you, to the explosion, the end of the
absolutely,
because ends are really the catalyst for the beginning, aren't they?
Absolutely. And we're coming back to that cyclical, you know, one of my favorite symbols is the snake with its tail in its mouth.
Yeah.
It's, you know, for me, that just represents beginnings and endings. They're both exactly the same. It explains the paradox of the polarities.
Yeah.
And it's called the Ouroboros, I think.
Okay.
So I'm massive into symbology. For me, one thing I love about you is that you can get complex. To me, they're just lines on a piece of paper. But you can look at something and see sacred geometry and you can understand it. And you can say to me, oh, I've done this, Jules. And I look at it and I just go, my head just explodes. So why do you think some people have got that ability? I don't, but I've got an ability with words. So I express my learnings, teachings, understandings through voice and writing. You express a lot of yours through visual art, but also connected to math and physics.
Yeah.
How does that work? Because that is not my realm.
Well, I think we're all gifted different talents, don't you? It's just in our DNA. So I was always good at math. I'll use the old-fashioned maths, not math that the Americans like. I'm still maths.
That slipped out.
It's all right. It's okay. I'm still an old maths girl. Before I said it, I just thought, oh yeah, I still use maths, me. Not garbage, it's the rubbish. I just think it's in my DNA that it's a deep rooted understanding of, I mean, I've studied obviously vibration, and when I was at university, I loved electronics. So I love working with things you can't see.
Right.
The invisible is my passion, because you know it's there, but you can't see it.
Okay.
So it's like it's the vibration of, and I think university was where I really switched on to vibration and crystals.
Right.
The power of the crystal came without me realizing, but my fourth year dissertation was all about quartz crystal being used as a sensor for a measuring tool in engineering, and liquid and fluid, because we were measuring oils. So I sort of had this passion for fluid movement from water and the power of water. We are water, aren't we? If you think about.
I drink my water. Yeah.
Or born with, is it 90%? A baby is 90% water fluid. Whereas when we pass away, when we get to 50%, as we start shriveling and dehydrating with age, we pass away before we get to the point of only being 50% water. Okay. So for me, the power of vibration and energy through water and what we drink and who we are is really powerful. Okay. And crystals can measure that vibration and set it as patterns. And so I love all I've been playing for years. I've wanted to get my cyber, I always want to say cybernetics, and it isn't. It's like cybernetics, but that's not the robot side. It's the water patterns and capturing the water.
Oh, cymatics.
Cymatics, that's
cymatics. How sound and water deliver a pattern.
Yes, so I've started playing with that now, because I connected with an American guy who is big into it, and he's made some equipment that you can buy, but he's also very kindly shared on YouTube how to set up a small unit yourself, so you can play at home and experiment. Now the results aren't as good as his, because his machine's much bigger. With more power, but it's a good little starting point to actually measure things that you're working on as well, seeing what the frequency of certain waters, or if you add an essential oil into that water, what patterns it's going to give me now, because I've changed the vibration.
Absolutely, I get that.
The flower essence, adding a flower into a water. What vibration does it now have, because it's took on the vibration of that flower, it's took on that energy, so that to me is fascinating. I could spend all day just not getting any work done, because I'm actually just, well, it is work.
For me, that is such valuable work, and I'll tell you for why, because as you're explaining all this, I was trying to figure out, so where would I fit into that? I would fit into that by voraciously reading the results of your work, watching a video of the results of your work, to discover the frequencies, the vibrations, and how each of those relates to a different chakra. Because my work being around chakras, they vibrate, they have frequencies. But I have to go elsewhere to discover the scientific, and I'll call it scientific as a general word for the work that you do.
Yeah.
Because without that, because I'm a feeler, I feel it in my body. Yeah. I know that there's a frequency change within my body, but I wouldn't have a clue how to measure it. I wouldn't know how. So, for instance, I know that I can go to research and I can know which crystal relates to which chakra. It could be color, it could be frequency. What does a particular chakra operate best at? What is the frequency, the vibration? And it's about me using that knowledge to heal, to take forward, to heal.
Yeah.
So without the understanding, I'm an operator and you are a person who brings forth something for me to operate.
I'm the geeky girl.
You're the geek who
in the camera scenes.
brings something through. You know, and I can bring things through too, but they tend to be concepts, not. So I know that there is something that works, but I don't know how. I just know it works. So I practice it and I see it working. And I go, right, okay, show it to someone else. They go, yeah, wow, that works. How does that work? And I go, I don't know. You're the how. You're the person who can explain the how. I'm the person who can just go, I just know it works. I don't know how. People like Jan will tell you how. I'll just show you how. You know what I mean?
Yeah. People like to see a visual, don't they? Humans like to see a validation on what you say. So if you can validate what you're, so the music videos, the work that, you know, we've been doing with the spirals, and they're set vibration healing music videos. So they have solfeggio frequencies and they have tuning forks. So they're tuned. The vibration of the music is tuned to heal us through the music. So for me now, it's showing what that vibration is as a visual, because as much, you know, we've tested it last year and people have found it and grown and enjoyed it. But being able to show people, look, this is the frequency that this music is, this is how it's affecting your vibration patterns. Because we only get ill when our vibration goes off key. We've just forgotten how to retune ourselves using vibration and sound. And I don't ask me why they gave me music to do, because I have no idea, because I can't read music, I can't write music, I can't sing, I can't do any of that stuff, but I can work with the vibration. And it's like
have you pressed a button where your hand's up?
Oh, sorry. No,
it's only because it's being recorded that I want to mention it. If we were just having a conversation off record, I wouldn't have even mentioned it. Sorry,
I didn't even. I must have just caught the.
But what I was going to say was, when you said, I don't know why they gave me music, I think they gave it you because they knew that you'd know what to do with it.
Right.
Whereas if I was channeling something, they give me things to connect to that they know I know what to do with. That isn't what you do. Because I know you've channeled this amazing, structured, huge thing that I've had a tiny little part of. But it's been so complex to me that But I've been more than happy to go, I'll do what bit I can and just continue to be fascinated by all the things that I don't understand. So what I see my ability is to get into a place where, okay, I don't understand this, that, and the other. I'll just accept it, bring it together, and then wait until it's ready to be offered out there as a modality. Then, so when people say, so how does this work? How does that work? It would have to have been you that brings that through, wouldn't it? Because people are going to want material. So if I practice that going down the future line, and I can't explain it in full detail, I at least have materials to give to people to say, so this is how it came about.
Yeah.
I can operate it, but it's like me driving a car, but I don't know how the engine works, if that makes sense. But I could teach someone to drive. So that, for me, is the easiest way for me to understand it, is that you're the engineer, you've built the car, you've designed it, you've made it happen. I immediately can drive it because I've helped and learned more about it in its construction, and I can teach someone else to drive it, but I haven't got a clue what's under the hood, what's under the bonnet.
And you know what, Jules, this all, looking back, going full circle back round, you asked me about like something that happened in my life that was a big break, and all this has developed from a big break.
Right.
Because I can remember being sat on my bottom stair, and I'm sure many of us have done this, us girls especially, is everybody's left the house in the morning, the kids have gone to school, and I've sat on the bottom stairs and I've sobbed, not knowing how I'm going to get through the day.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? How am I going to make this work? It's like, how am I going to feed everybody? There's no money coming in the house. It's, do you know, that whole, like, everything feeling like you've got a ton of bricks on you.
Yeah.
Like, I remember sitting on that step still. My sort of, wow, what is this it? What am I going to do? Yeah. And then back then you used to go and get a newspaper. I thought, I'm going to have to, I had a sudden illness that closed my business down. So it was very unexpected, and it hit like a sledgehammer. Right. Anyway, I took myself, dried my tears, and I thought, it's jobs night in the paper tonight. And you'd trundle up to the local newsagents and you'd get a newspaper and you'd sit with a brew and you'd read all the jobs and stuff like we used to do before we had no computers, no mobile phones, no internet, none of that. And there was an advert, and it said, women, are you a woman that's struggling with the new technology? Because computers were just starting to come in. Like, the kids had game machine things, but people didn't have a home computer. But it was going that way, that people were starting to buy computers for the house. And I thought, and it was a year's course at Preston University, and you thought, you know what, I don't know anything about technology. I need to learn some skills. I can't just sit at home with this illness. I need to occupy my mind, at least. I can sit in a classroom, I can take notes, you know, and that was the catalyst to changing my life. That illness, that break, took me in a completely different tangent.
Right.
And I went off and I did what was classed as, what was it called at the time? It wasn't even women in engineering. It was women learning technology or something like that. Yeah. And it was a European funded course, and you just had to sit a little maths test to get on it. And what I didn't realize was it was a foundation into engineering. But I absolutely loved it because it tested my brain, not my body. I didn't physically have to work hard. It was a mental learning rather than physical. Yeah. And I ended up going off to Lancaster Uni and doing robotic engineering. Yeah. All from that one advert in the paper, and sitting on the stairs, crying my eyes out, thinking, what am I going to do next?
And that perfectly sums up how almost like how the universe has always got our back.
Yeah, it'll send something. And we don't listen often enough to what the universe says. The universe, whenever you ask, it will send, but it doesn't always send what you think you want. Yeah,
it sends what you need, doesn't it?
Yeah, it will send you something that you think, really? Really? And it's like, I've learned to listen and go, okay, you're sending me this. Wasn't what I wanted, or thought I wanted at least, but you've sent it. I'm going, my computer is, when I lift my hands up, is turning that button on.
Really?
Um,
Well, me being the non-geek in that area, what do you recognise?
I don't know. It's probably spirit just going, yeah, well, hands up, that one. We sent you that. You didn't want it, but you took it. You accepted. Accept the gifts from the universe, because they know better than us. We think we know best, don't we? But sometimes accepting something that's sent to you that's a challenge can be exactly what you need.
Exactly.
Take the challenge.
Oh, I'm notorious for having not a chance. If it doesn't resonate, whoa, not a chance. Oh, I blame all kinds of things. I'm a splenic projector. I've got to be invited. I've got this. I've got that. Oh, I can write a book of excuses.
I found myself making excuses to somebody the other day, and I sort of slapped myself and said, "Stop it! Just be truthful. Just tell the truth."
You know,
I
once I
actually don't want to do
realised that, you know, you read these motivational books, you mention Napoleon Hill, Think and Get Rich, you know,
Yeah.
and you go, yeah, I need to do something. Oh, blah, blah, blah. But then what you do is you go, so how come I've not done it before now? And then I go into, oh, start beating myself up. You're rubbish. You should have done this when you were 25, you know. But I have now managed to clear all that ridiculousness of the inner critic and just take things as they come and understand about timing.
Yeah.
Is just as important.
Yeah. Because you might not have been ready for that.
I wouldn't be ready
10
for it.
years ago,
But also, it could have been that it took me away. Oh, I don't know. But like you say, I might not have just been ready. I wasn't ready. I've had to get to a place in life. Like you said, you've loved becoming older. I've loved becoming older too, because I've actually got to a point where I've had absolutely cherished everything now.
Yeah.
And I began to cherish getting older. I began to cherish the wisdom I'd gained. I began to cherish understandings that I'd got, where I was at. Because I am like you, a perennial learner. I love to learn. I'm a bookworm as well. So I was a voracious reader too. So I was incredibly lucky that whether I knew it or not, I was constantly growing, you know, because I was constantly learning. But the thing I wasn't confident enough to do was teach, was to share my wisdom gained, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Without doing that, I got to the point where it was like, so what was it all for? And this is where we get to the point when we get older about thinking about what has it all been for?
Yeah.
What would you say would be? Now, I know you. I'd like to think I know you well enough to know that you ain't slowing down anytime soon.
No.
Despite that you say, oh, I need to take a rest, I need to whatever. You won't. Because you're like very similar in that way. I think we're similar enough to understand in each other that we're both the kind of people that we will never stop, ever, until we drop. We won't stop till we drop.
No.
So then I personally, when I go like that, I can say, so I have got that motivation, you know? So even though whatever I've done might not have come to a fruition that I think it should have done, I've still grown.
Oh, definitely.
I've still grown.
Yeah.
So now I can surrender to that and go, phew, it's okay to be me. That's, I think, where I've got to a place of being. In fact, it's not just okay to be me. It's vital for me to be me.
Yes, because you're awesome.
Absolutely. But whether I'm awesome or not, it's still vital that I am who I am.
Yeah.
Without expecting anyone to accept that, but preferring it when they do. If that makes sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But there are going to be people who don't prefer me because they need to be connected to somebody else.
Yeah. We all
If that makes sense. So you and I connected and it worked.
Yeah.
There will have been somebody I will have tried to connect to prior and it didn't work.
Yeah.
And there will again in the future, maybe.
Yeah.
The same with you. What I'm saying is that when you meet someone who has got the same eyes to see and the same ears to hear, as yourself, it's amazingly wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we can let each other stay in their own lane. We can honor each other's gifts and talents and accept without an edge, without, you know, I know exactly what you're brilliant at. I don't envy it. It's that, well, that's Jan. It's what Jan does. I know what I do. And I know that you don't envy me because you're too busy being you. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if we can accept that we each come here with that individuality and we have our own lane, we have our own path, we have our own journey, it doesn't bother you when someone doesn't want to walk yours.
No, we're not
Because
meant to be on the same
it's
track.
fine. But you've got to get to a point with them where you're so accepting of yourself that it just doesn't bother you.
Yeah.
Does it?
No.
You know? And this relates for me to the Buddhist wisdom of the highest attainment is acceptance. In the correspondence of the crown chakra, as we grow, I do it as if it's linear. It's not. It's spiracular. You know, it goes up and it comes down, and whatever we attain through the wisdom through the crown chakra comes back down, and we bring it in through the root of us. We're constantly growing. We have to grow all of us. We can't just grow one bit of us. You know, a tree doesn't just grow one leaf on one side. You know, it doesn't work that way. It's in totality of who we are, isn't it?
Yes.
For me, that brings us right back to where we began, which was talking about
trees
and circles and
grounded.
You know? And you were talking about the beach and the sea being would be the perfect place for you. For me, it's the woodland.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the beach, I love the sea, but it wouldn't be my go-to place. The river, yeah, that's where I would like the water, the river. It would be the woodland. That might be another conversation for another time, because I'd love to have you back again.
Yeah.
Because I think you and I have got such a lot of experiential wisdom that there's so much about you I don't know as well. And maybe my own experiential wisdom, not literally talking about, oh, this happened to me, that happened to me, you know, in that place, but in the woo realms, the more galactic realms about our journeys in the cosmos.
Yeah.
That aspect for me of spirituality, under that blanket word spirituality, which I believe all of this sits under. Almost like psycho-spiritual place.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course it does.
So would you come back again?
Yeah, I'd love to. It's been
and have
fun.
a conversation with me again. That'd be brilliant. So I'm going to wind it up here, and I am so happy that you agreed to come on this. It's been a fabulous conversation, but I do know that there's so much more that we can talk about. So thank you so much, Jan, for coming.
Thank you for asking.
And I'll be in touch, and I'll be asking you to come back.
Oh, you take care. I'm sending hugs. Love you.